Welcome to the Workshop Therapy Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew, and joining me today is the co-host, my wife.
Hello.
Thank you for coming on today,
You're welcome.
and happy Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day is like just about Valentine's.
It's true. Don't let go of our secret that we record late at night and often last minute.
We did actually talk about this one before.
True.
We just lead very busy lives right now, so.
Well, maybe if you would retire and, stay at home and be a trophy wife like me.
Yeah. Guess it worked for two in the relationship.
Participation trophy wives. Meaning with
But we were talking kind of about that today with our daughter, who was very disappointed that she put in a lot of effort into a coloring contest only to find out that it had nothing to do with the effort, and it was all based on we put everyone's name in a hat to make it equal. She's
Give everybody a draw.
very offended by that.
She was very demotivated.
Yeah, it was very upsetting to her. Anyway, random side note.
Yeah.
Bode well.
Does.
Mm-hmm.
So, burnout. Do you remember what we were talking about this morning now?
Do you?
Vaguely.
Okay, you better start then.
So the topic that we decided on talking about today had to do with self-doubt and burnout, and how self-doubt, you kind of create the burnout by doubting your capabilities, and so then you procrastinate and push yourself to you, or sometimes I, or we, people in general, get into the mindset of kind of like self-doubt and doubting their abilities to do a task, like finish a job or create a project, and so then you procrastinate.
Build a house.
Yeah, you procrastinate and build a house.
I just coughed there. I don't know what happened.
Don't say you building a house.
No, I'm going to work so we can build a house.
It's very draining building houses.
Didn't say it wasn't.
It's also very draining being self-doubting about your ability to finish the house.
Mm-hmm. It is.
I'm just going to start crying. I'm going to stop the episode here and then
end the episode. We don't know how to help you because we are failing in this particular thing.
In this aspect, yeah. I wouldn't say we're failing.
I don't know. And yeah, I probably would, but I'm pretty pessimistic about this aspect as we discussed this morning.
Which is what inspired the topic, is that when you have that self-doubt, you almost like look for excuses to fulfill the prediction and create the problem.
Yeah, you do. I agree. But I don't think it's like just an easy thing to turn on and off, though.
No, it isn't. It's one of those, like...
Unlike the Celine Dion song that's still running through my head that I don't even like. But there is lots of little things like that, too, that build up, and you think, well, I didn't do it. I didn't get the heart-shaped cinnamon buns done that I wanted to try and make. And I didn't get lots of things done, and I had to cancel the Valentine's party for my class tomorrow because they had bad behavior. What's that part of? I don't know. There's just lots of things that end up building up and causing that self-doubt. Did I do it right? Am I doing enough? And I don't know. For me, the answer is always no. So.
Yeah, and you end up focusing on the negative aspects of it, too.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you didn't make the heart-shaped cinnamon buns, but you did make little handmade Valentine's cards with our daughter for all the kids in the class.
Yeah.
Right? And you spent the time doing that with the kids, the girls, and they
probably done, and he said hard pass.
That's because he's a middle-aged teenager. He's at that teenager age now where everything is like, I'm not going to do that. That's uncool. Anyway, but yeah, so you end up getting that self-doubt built around whatever task you're doing because you didn't get it built to perfection or done to perfection. And so then you begin to procrastinate the other aspects of the plan, further proving your point that you're going to fail at it. And then you become stressed about that, and then you get burnt out, and then it turns out that you're right, you did fail at it. But the beginning of the process, if you switch your mindset just a little bit, you can kind of circumvent that
Yeah.
downward spiral. So since you're an expert at the downward spiral sometimes,
All the time.
what are some strategies that work to break that?
Don't know. You just called me the expert at the downward spiral. I only know how to get the down part. I'm not
So what do you do to trigger the downward spiral?
I get up in the morning.
And then think
Yep.
about what?
My day.
And then become overwhelmed about it?
I don't know.
So then the solution to the downward spiral of self-doubt is don't get up. Don't think about your day, just
No, I think I don't know. I really I am coming at from this in a place of I don't know. The self-doubt is a really difficult one for me to deal with personally. And something that I am talking to a therapist about and working on. But it makes it difficult, I find, to even have gratitude for the things sometimes because I don't feel like I deserve them. And I feel like if I acknowledge that I have them, that they will disappear. And so there's lots of things like that that then makes me just feel so burnt out and tired and overwhelmed that you don't want to do it anymore.
well, that's where we've been talking about cognitive reframing this week, right? Like we've been and that's kind of where I was going to go with that is you
Yes, but we've already established that that's a very big challenge for me.
yeah, I'm not saying that it isn't, but there's a few things that kind of trigger those self-doubt things. And I thought maybe we'd go over some of them. And one of the key things to recognize when you're trying to reframe a thought before it, reframe a thought from a negative path to a positive path
Uh-huh.
is to remove an absolute or all or nothing statement about it, right? Like I always wake up in the morning and, begin the day grumpy, or I always feel like I'm overwhelmed in the morning, or I always
So I've been
do this, or I never do, which isn't true because you're never always tired. You're never always burnt out. You're never always um yelling at somebody or whatever your problem is. It's never an absolute. There's always room for grace there. You're always
you just used the word always.
I had just realized that. There yeah, I was using an absolute to say that there's no absolute.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe it's oxymoronic to say that, but
Uh-huh.
there isn't an absolute when it comes to any sort of behavior.
No, but I think for me, part of the anxiety and the feeling this always happened is because I feel a lack of control or a lack of sameness to my day. Like I really crave things being exactly the same. And I find in this phase of life with kids, I never know how much sleep I'm going to get. If I go to bed at 10, I could be awakened 6, 7, 8 times a night.
Uh-huh.
Right? I don't know how much sleep. I don't know if I'm going to fall back asleep. I don't know. And so there's all of these unknowns that I think also push that button for me, not just the don't know, that sameness absolute. There's also that mental it's never gonna not just the always. It I always do this. It's I always don't know what's going to happen.
Uh-huh.
Is equally
Yeah, but then that leads kind of into the next one, or partially into the next one. Is when you're in a heightened state of stress and you're burnt out or whatever, you tend to get into kind of catastrophizing state of mind too, which further heightens the problem. Like like going to
then
bed at night, for example, that you just used, kids waking up, you get into your mind that, there's no point going to sleep because the kids are going to be coming and waking me up every half hour or every 10 minutes. They're going to be coming in here. And sometimes that is true,
yes, it is.
but often it isn't. Sometimes it's only 10 times a night, not 40. And every once in a while they'll actually sleep through the night. That happens once a year.
Yeah, and then I wake up because I think they're dead.
Exactly. Catastrophizing.
Exactly. This could all be a lack of sleep. Moms out there, this could be your problem.
Yep. You're burnt out because you're not sleeping well enough because you're kids.
Yeah, but
So
that's
therefore, kids cause burnout,
well,
which is true.
no, it is true. It is. Yeah, it is true. But I mean, they're wonderful and amazing, and I wouldn't want to be without them. But as someone who craves knowing things and having set routines and stuff, it does make things very difficult for me personally. And I find myself giving up a lot and just being like, this and catastrophizing into this is always happens this way. It's never going to work out. We could never be on time for anything, which isn't true, but it becomes true in my mind.
And then it becomes true
And then
in
it becomes
reality
true
too.
because I've given up. And I mean, to some extent, having kids, trying to be on time for things, good luck. Because it doesn't matter how much you plan, they have a different plan.
Well, I don't think they have a plan aside from to just like counter your plan.
Your plan, yeah.
That kind of carries on into the next thing too, which is personalization. So often when things happen, sometimes circumstances are just outside of your control, right? Like if the power goes out, for an example, and for whatever reason you don't realize what the time is, and then you're late as a result of that,
Yeah.
and you personalize that and go, it's my fault because I'm always late.
Yeah.
When in reality there are extenuating circumstances, or if there's a traffic accident, or you failed to, or the post office didn't deliver the thing you needed, whatever it is, right? But then you go, oh, it's my fault. I should have anticipated that this was going to happen and
Oh, yeah.
left a half an hour earlier. I should have anticipated that this was going
I
to
should
happen.
have got up
and
earlier. I should have
Yeah.
planned this better. I should have.
Which sometimes is true,
Yeah.
but often isn't as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in those situations where you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed, it's important to not personalize everything, not make everything your fault. Sometimes it's important to take a little step back and
I was gonna say that's easier said than done.
oh, absolutely it is, but it's a talent and it's a muscle that you have to develop, right? Like it's not a, oh, like none of these strategies are things that you go, oh, I didn't know that. Now I'm going to be better about it tomorrow because I have this knowledge in my head and everything's going to be better from now on out. It
Yeah.
is all a process. It's all a development.
Yeah.
And I think don't take this for the wrong way. Don't
I
take this.
love when you start conversations this way. It's my absolute favorite thing to say. Or that, and I don't mean to offend you, but yes. All right. Prep
Something
myself for something I don't want to hear.
something that lots of people do, and you included, and I'm sure I do it too, but I don't recognize it as well in myself as I can point it out in other people.
Lovely. I love where this is going. Continue.
Is emotional reasoning, right? Like especially when it comes to anxiety, is people often get stuck into the trap of, I feel anxious, so something bad must be happening, right? Like you feel anxious about something, therefore something bad has to be happening to cause the anxiety, when in reality you're just stressed and burnt out, and so you're in that heightened state. But then you start looking for the thing that's causing the anxiety, and if you look for something like that, you'll eventually find something or create something, and then you'll be right. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I feel like that happens on the negative side really easy. And if you're looking for the positive, and I just don't feel like that happens that way.
I I agree. Sometimes that feels very hard.
I'm not seeing my. I don't know. I don't understand this whole manifesting thing. I am clearly not there in my spiritual enlightenment.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you need to.
I'm not smoking anything.
No, I wasn't going to say that. I don't recommend smoking anything at all. I was just going to make a dig at Keith from Blackthorn Concepts,
Oh,
because he's the king of intentionality. You being intentional with your choices and stuff.
maybe you should take some lessons.
Right, Keith? See if he comments because
Telling you should take lessons from Keith.
yep. Anyway, so yeah, burnout.
So yeah, that was mocking you.
I know, hurt my feeling.
Your feeling has been hurt.
Don't know if it'll ever recover. I will now no longer have a feeling.
I
Anyway,
wonder why I'm anxious and burnt out. I think it's all easier said than done.
absolutely.
Little changes make bigger changes, but it doesn't mean that they're easy to see or implement or any of those things.
Mm-hmm. And that's the important thing to remember there too, though, is little changes make.
It's like the aggregation of marginal gains or whatever that
exactly.
theory is. Yeah.
Exactly. And we talked about that a couple episodes ago. But you don't have to make a major change. You just have to make a minor change. And eventually those minor changes will create the major change. And then it's the same. It goes the same way both ways, right? And that's what I mean with the whole burnout creating burnout.
Yeah.
Or whatever the example was we started with. It's getting late and my brain's starting to not function. On the plus side, for you, I'm finally got some guests scheduled in the future.
That's exciting for everyone else on the podcast who would like to hear from someone besides me.
I get more comments about you and people wanting to hear more from you than anything else. So don't even.
Well, thank you for the comments. That's something.
Yep. Because she's smarter than me.
I am not smart. Why do we have this conversation over and over and over again?
Who's got the 4.0?
You?
No. Nope, it isn't. I do not have a 4.0. Somebody in this relationship has a 4.0, and it's not me. So unless you're into polyamory, which I hope not.
Surprise. That was terrible. I'm sorry. Yes, I do currently have a 4.0. But see, it's like even it's even for me to admit that I have a 4.0 right now is difficult because I want to follow it up with but it could change at any moment. And it's just because I've been really blessed to have good professors who have been great. Like I don't.
Or, but my degree is different than yours. Blah, blah, blah. Always, yes. Good job on not doing that.
Yes. Because
and
I
doing
also
it
have
in a side-handed way.
Struggle, and I hate this, but I struggle with magical thinking in the fact that if like I think about it enough, it's about bad things that I think that they will happen.
Well, that's the emotional reasoning.
But then I also think, but then I also get to the point where I'm like, if I don't think about the bad thing, then it's going to happen. So I have to prep for the bad thing because then if I'm prepared for it, it won't happen.
But then you're thinking about it, so it will happen.
So then it probably does happen. I don't know. It's all bad.
Basically, just stop thinking.
Clearly.
It's a good thing you're not a drug user. You'd be a total crack.
Why do you think alcoholics run in my family?
It's true. Probably very true.
I think, but then in all seriousness, with this, for me, like I can totally understand why it becomes too heavy for some people. Mm-hmm. And it seems like, like, burnout and self-doubt, they're massive. And I can make jokes about it because that's how I can actually talk about it. But if I was actually serious about it, it's quite
debilitating.
Yeah, and disheartening and depressing.
Overwhelming. Yep.
Yeah. And it is definitely not something that I want my children to inherit from me. And I worry about that. And I am trying to change my language to give them something better to go by and to let them see that, yes, sometimes, mommy fails and mommy struggles, but mommy's trying to keep going and mommy's trying to not say bad things about mommy, even though I feel them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, not that they need to know that I feel them necessarily, or maybe they do. I don't know. But I don't want them to only hear that, but it's hard.
Yep. And that's the thing is it is very difficult for everybody to, because there's this, I think there's a stigma against, being down on yourself. Like negative mental health is, there's a stigma around your mental health, but there's also a significant stigma against people who are perceived as overconfident in themselves too. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, so you get this you kind of get this damned if you do, damned if you don't situation where you don't want to say, hey, I can do this, because then you might come across as one of those people who are obnoxious and annoying. And so then you...
Yeah. But I think I sent you a reel this week on the whatever that thing is I use occasionally sometimes. And
the grams to in.
Yeah, the grams to in. The Insta spam, as our children call it. And it was talking about like how neurodivergent people are giving 100% when they're actually putting that 100% in, and they can't understand, and so burnout is higher because if you are actually functioning where people should be, they're giving like 65% and keeping reserve for themselves. And I think that's part of this, why this self-doubt comes in, is because I've given everything.
Yeah, you give 100% to every task.
And it's exhausting. But I don't know how to regulate that down to where it is like it floored me to think that people are actually only giving 60%. I mean, no offense, but hence the 4.0, right? Like I give my all to that. But then I'm also giving my all to teaching all day and trying to give 100% to parenting and trying to, and it gets to that point where I have nothing left.
And then you feel bad about yourself because you didn't make the heart-shaped cinnamon buns tonight.
And I feel bad about myself too because I don't necessarily like who I see in the mirror, because I haven't taken the time to do the things for myself that would make me feel better either. Right? And so that self-doubt gets deeper, and that pathway in my mind gets deeper, and it gets harder to get out of that. And not just like mentally on my own, but also because people expect my 100%. And so if I'm to pull back now and be like, yeah, no, I can only give you this much of me, there's a lot of kickback from a lot of people.
There's also a lot of perceived kickback that doesn't necessarily
could be,
exist.
but that the rejection sensitivity dysphoria is also a big part of that, right? Like where any little thing, I'm going to be like, whoa, holy crap, they hate me.
Again, going back to the emotional reasoning problem.
Yeah. Well, if you're on the spectrum, understanding emotions is a bit of a struggle in the first place.
You're like a perfect case study for this.
Yes. Aren't you lucky you live with me?
I am.
But it honestly did. It honestly floored me to think that some people don't give. And this is no offense to you. I'll start off with that. Something that has always been interesting to me with you in our marriage is that I feel like, and sometimes I've honestly been resentful about it because I feel like I'm all in all the time. And you're not giving as much effort as I would. And so it frustrates me.
Hence the reason you have a 4.0 and I have a 3.9 something, 93.
Yep.
Which is good enough.
Still amazing.
It's good enough.
But
my 70% effort is good enough because I'm also putting 70% effort into everything else too.
Yeah, but I can't get a 70 because I can't pass my degree with a 70. A 70 is not passable.
I didn't say I was getting 70s. I said 70% effort.
Oh, okay, I got it. Sorry.
I'm clearly getting better than 70s to have a 3.9.
Well, I don't know. You've been in curved classes and stuff. I've never had that. But
still relative to everybody else. An A is an A, if everybody else got 10% and I got 20%, and that ended up being A, I was still...
Yes, but in my first degree, that my GPA is not great, I still had a higher percentage in my classes than you did with a better GPA.
Yeah.
It still bothers me. But anyway, sorry.
It's not my fault you went into some crazy music degree where people judge you for wearing glasses.
It's true.
And the wrong colored dress.
Yeah, ranty. But in all seriousness, the emotional reasoning and the how do I change that? How do I create that space for myself when part of what scares me, and you know this, is that I don't know me. And it's scary to create time to just like be with myself. So, there you go.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. You really just have me on these podcasts to like dissect my crazy, don't you?
And on that bombshell,
Good luck. Clearly, I'm not a lot of help, but I'm there for you in understanding that it's very difficult.
excellent job. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions,
Ask Andrew.
send them to questions@workshopptherapypodcast.com and we'd love to answer them. What other concluding things? Oh, if you have any guests that you want to hear on here, please send them to questions@workshopptherapypodcast.com or message me on the Instagrams or anywhere else, actually, on the social medias. Preferably on the
Are there
email.
social
because
medias besides Facebook and Instagram?
yeah, TikTok.
Oh, I've never gone on that.
YouTube is a social media. X is a social
What?
media. X.
I don't even know what that is.
Twitter. It's now
Oh.
called X.
I never got that. I tried it once because I had to for work. I didn't get it.
Yeah, I've attempted Twitter every once in a while, but
It's not my thing. It's a good thing I teach you how to write colony. Not to worry about that anymore.
yep. Anyway, this went much longer than I was anticipating it would. So thanks for listening, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, everyone. I just had some technical difficulties with this week's Patreon read. So thank you, everybody, for supporting on Patreon. Thought we're going to have one of the entertaining ones this week. And yeah, appreciate your support. Check.
Don't. I'm gonna say.
What?
No, I can resist the urge.